before we jump in, I just want to take a moment to continue with the birthday celebrations. There's two other birthdays I do want to point out. One of them is Cristina Legarica, our business manager. There's one that's very, very special to me. My grandma, Rose in Iowa, is turning 100 today.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Grandma Rose. So thank you for all being here. A little bit about me. I'm the school director, and I'm originally from Iowa. And I started my career out in Southern California. That's where I met my wife, Erin Lee, as an elementary school teacher, teaching first and second grade. And like many of you, decided to go overseas, went to the UNI Fair, landed in Cartagena, and thought it was just going to be a couple years. I was a teacher for 2 years, and I became an elementary principal for 9 years, and now I'm in my 8th year as the school director. So that's a total of 19 years. It's just not, and I know it happens to a lot of us, right? That you say you're just going to go overseas for a couple of years, and then it becomes more and more and more. But all of this time, I have to say, it's because I love this city, I love Cartagena, and so I love hosting people when they come to visit and showing them around the city. And this might be the largest group of people I've ever hosted. I hope that you're enjoying yourself, you're feeling at home while you're here. If you haven't had the chance already, hopefully you have been able to get out and explore the city a little bit, that you've gone out in the old city, if you have time, get out to the islands. It's beautiful out there as well. We had the chance to host some people on our campus for the pre-conference a couple days ago. And you might think from looking at this picture that we just sat around drinking coconut water all day. But that is not the case. We actually did a lot of meaningful learning, conversations, and we had a great time. It was great meeting all the people that were there on our campus. If you were not able to be there, here's some pictures of our campus. This is our main campus up in the Sur Norte. Some of you might know this. We're actually sitting on the COJOWA campus before. This entire block here, where the Hyatt is located, it used to be our COJOWA campus. I actually taught on this campus. We used to do school parties out on the beach. It was amazing. But this campus is much bigger. It has much more space. Here's some other pictures, two of the main plazas that we have. Sports facilities, cafeteria, classrooms. And this is our preschool. So here in Boca Grande, we have more of the residential area. That's where our preschool is located, closer for families. So when Derek and Adam asked us as a school to explain something about our school, like a journey we've been on, there's a lot of things we could have talked about, but service learning, we knew right away, was the topic we really wanted to share. This has become a signature program for our school. And I might say, as a leader, it could be one of the most powerful, yet complex things that we can actually take on. So, service learning is not something extra that we do. It's actually deeply embedded into our identity as a school. When you look at our mission, our vision, and our strategic plan. So here's our mission statement. We nurture and challenge every learner to thrive and serve. And so, service is that greater mission that we have. You know, we have the mission to serve our students, have they go off to be successful. But our greater mission is that they go off and also continue serving. And you'll see that in our vision as well. Our vision is we are learning together as reflective citizens and innovative thinkers to build a better tomorrow. So that build a better tomorrow is that aspirational piece, really telling our community we want them to go out and have impact in our community. So you look at our strategic plan, and we've got up at the top, we've got our mission, we've got our vision along the side, and there's like 4 phrases in our vision statement. If you break that down, it creates the 4 pillars of our strategic plan. So if you know our vision, you know our entire strategic plan. There's 9 objectives, but we're going to focus in on Build a Better Tomorrow. And under Build a Better Tomorrow, there is the objective, Live to Give. And this is where service learning is. Students develop a habit of service as a way to address global and local needs. So when we first launched service learning, as we were preparing, we committed to our school community that we're going to implement service learning school-wide, from preschool all the way up through high school. Now, I don't know if you've ever had one of these moments as a school leader when you say yes to an initiative, something that's big and meaningful that you know you need to do, but you haven't quite figured out how it's all going to come together. That was us in that moment. But the good thing is we had a very strong why behind it. We knew that we wanted our students to start seeing the world through a lens of service. So that whatever careers they go on to study, whatever jobs they have in the future, that they would find ways to connect their abilities, their interests, their passions with needs that exist in the world. And so service learning isn't something that just happens at school. It actually creates a ripple effect that goes out after they graduate to have an impact in our world. So I want to just take a moment at your tables for you guys to talk amongst yourselves about service experiences that you've had, that have been meaningful and have had an impact. So think of a time when you were part of a service experience that had a meaningful impact on you or on others. You're just going to turn and talk to the person next to you. We're going to have 2 minutes, so 1 minute for one person, 1 minute for the other person, and then we'll come back together. Go ahead and get started. So that's actually how our story began. Because as we were going to be launching service learning, we had to think, how does service learning fit in to what we're already doing? And when we stepped back and looked around, there's already a lot of service happening in our school. Clubs, organizations. We have our own nonprofit organization called Fundación COJOWA. So service was already happening all over. And what we realized is that service learning isn't a replacement for any of these things. It's in addition to. So we had to sit down with our leadership team and come up with some essential agreements because we were figuring out what this was going to look like. And we had to do it preschool through high school. So we had to bring all of our leadership team together to say, what are the basic agreements we're going to come up with? And so we came up with the what and the who. So the what, there's 3 things. The first is that we would have one service learning project in each grade level. So from preschool through high school, in every grade they'd be working on a service learning project throughout the year. The second is that we would embed at least one sustainable development goal into each of the projects. And the last is that we would have different SDGs in the different grade levels within a section. So, for example, in the elementary, in grades 1 through 5, so in grades 1 through 5, they could not repeat the same SDG within that section. And the reason is, there's 17 different SDGs. We didn't want the students just focusing on the same issues year after year. And so we wanted to make sure they're having diverse experiences with the different issues that we wanted to study. So, one of the mantras that we had during this entire process was, we wanted to keep it simple because there's already so much happening. We had just launched PBL a couple of years before and other initiatives, so we knew this needed to be something that was sustainable, and for that, we needed to keep it simple. So next is the who. We had 3 agreements here. The first one is that we wanted to partner with local organizations, because we knew we were going to be going out into the city, into neighborhoods and communities where we don't have relationships, we don't have connections. But there are nonprofit organizations that already have those relationships. And so we wanted to come alongside and partner with these organizations as a bridge as we were going in and doing our work. Make sure we're actually meeting the needs that exist as well. The second who is that our Spanish and Colombian social studies teachers will take the lead on this. And there's a few different reasons. First of all, these are typically the teachers that are long-term at our school. They speak the language, they know the context, they understand the city, as well as when we looked at the issues and SDGs, they actually fit in really well with the standards for Spanish and Sociales in Colombia. And our final who. This was a new who, because we didn't have this position before, and as we learned about service learning, we realized pretty quickly we're going to need some leadership here, because it is a complex initiative. You're planning trips regularly off campus out into the community. You're having to organize the logistics for that, working with teachers to do something new and big on an ongoing basis, because it's shifting every year. And so we created a position, the Community Engagement Coordinator. And you're going to have a chance to meet Jessica. She'll be up on the stage here in just a little bit. She's incredible. And you're going to see all the awesome work that she's been doing to make this a reality. So as you can see, we had a basic idea of what we wanted to do. I mean, a simple set of essential agreements, but we needed support. And we needed a framework to guide us. And it was right along this time that I was introduced to Inspire Citizens. And Inspire Citizens has come alongside us. They've kind of become part of our team over the last few years. In particular, Aaron Monez. And we quickly saw that their empathy to impact model is a perfect fit for what we wanted to do. And so we've been very fortunate to work alongside them. But as you know, those things come with an investment. And so we decided, and this is important to know, service learning is an investment. It's an investment of resources, and it's an investment of time. From students, from teachers, from staff, from community members, from parents, it's an investment. I would say it's one of the best returns on investment that you can have as a leader. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to share today, I thought back 5 years ago as a director when I was preparing to launch service learning, what would I have wanted to know? And I thought, okay, what I would want to know is I'd want someone that could go ahead and shed light on the road ahead, but not just from my perspective. I'm sharing the director perspective right now, but there's so many other people involved. So I want to share the perspective of everyone that's involved in service learning. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So today you're going to hear the story of service learning from COJOWA told through the voices of everyone involved. You'll be hearing from early years to adolescents, from students to teachers, school to community, and empathy to impact. So let's begin our journey. I want to start by starting with our youngest learners, introducing Ms. Gloria Tegarife, who will be inviting up also one of our kinder students. Yeah. Come on.
Yes, service learning begins with our younger students in a very early age. To be honest, even children very young can make changes just connecting with empathy. This story tells us, this picture tells stories about seed plantings or our students drawing beautiful thank you notes to community helpers. Having a journey to connect our standards and academic goals to the different projects and to service learning too. For example, for our social studies or language arts units, we use community helpers topic, so our circle time teachers read to our 2-year-old students big books about them, to lead big questions. Who helped us? How can we show we care? And then, grade by grade, we help them to make connections. And we plant the seed of kindness, empathy, and care in their little hearts. Step by step, we guide them to shift them from being just about themselves to discovering the joy of helping others. And that is powerful. And today, with our proud student, kinder student, Kiara Gattuso, who will share with you her experience about service learning. Say hello to Kiara. Okay. You want to share? Okay, I have two questions for you. Okay? Kiara, can you share with us something you did with your classmates to help others? Can be natural or people. Yes, and Kiara, how do you feel when you help others?
It made me happy. I like her. I'm also happy when we can everybody smile, helping make my hair feel.
Oh yes, thank you, Kiara, for this introduction. At COJOWA, we truly believe when we teach science early, service becomes habit, part of our DNA, and that is super important. Through the different projects. For example, we have a project called El Agua Nos Importa, or another projects about plants, or projects about Cartagena macros. As Kiara said, we help our students to connect with the environment, with the communities, and with the real world challenges. And the last but not least is our parents as partners. They really support all the process. We invited a lot to our preschool activities. And getting for at home, the idea, even small, very small actions can do the world a better place to live. And that is fantastic. Now it's the time to introduce our students, Juliana and Sophie, who will share with you how they move from charity to serving others, to really make meaningful actions. Welcome, girls.
Service learning completely changed the way I understood service. At first, I thought it was only about giving, like food or toy drives. But then, I started asking deeper questions, like who are we serving? What do they really need? And how am I growing through this whole process? One service learning project that really impacted me was Salvemos el Bosque Seco Tropical. Before that, I didn't know how rich our tropical dry forest was, or how endangered it has become. I also didn't know that at just 11 years old, I could take action to help protect this ecosystem. Together with Fundación Logos and Bahía Cristal, we created posters to raise awareness at school, planted native species, and released animals back into nature.
Service learning is a completely different way of learning. It doesn't only happen in the classrooms, although sometimes we research, write, and engage in class. But other times we go outside and learn from nature and from people. In third grade, we visited the farmers from the Fundación Learning to the Past in the Olaya Rega neighborhood. There we learned sustainable agriculture. In fourth grade, we explored children's rights with the help from the students from the public school in La Boquilla. These experiences have shown us how powerful it is to learn directly from others. Real-world learning connects us to issues in a more authentic way. The more we explore and discover, the more aware we become. And that awareness inspires us to act with purpose. Now I would like to invite one of our high schoolers in our school. Awareness is the first step towards change. What you see, you can transform. But what truly gives meaning to that awareness are the relationships we build through service. Grade by grade, service learning at COJOWA gives us the opportunity to discover new realities and connect with communities and people we would have never met otherwise. And from my experience, it's those authentic relationships we build in the projects that truly impact us, inspire us, and motivate us to learn and serve. One of the projects that truly touched my heart was Ver para Aprender, a project that focused on the importance of visual health in children's learning. We worked with students from a nearby public school, and through research and eye exams conducted by an optometrist, we discovered that many of the children examined had vision problems that affected their ability to read. In fact, 80% of the kids needed glasses, but the cost was way too high for their families. At first, we didn't know how we could help, but we felt a deep desire and commitment to serve. Still, at that time, we were just 8th grade students and didn't know where to start. During one of the first activities of this project, I met Ashley, a young girl who not only suffered from severe vision problems, but was also born without arms. Despite her conditions, she always had a big, bright smile on her face, showing us that happiness only depends on ourselves. Her energy, her spirit, her motivation, and most importantly, her love for learning were one of her greatest inspirations for this project. Meeting her and building an authentic connection was truly meaningful. Her story pushed us to find every possible way to support her. And at the end, we not only provided classes for her and her classmates to see better, we also created change that truly impacted them. They not only received an item to improve their vision, they also knew that we cared deeply about them. Now that you've heard a student's point of view on service learning, let me introduce to you my AP Spanish, and Service Learning lead teacher, Ms. Julie Baez.
Story about the connection between Miranda and Ashley is just one of the examples of how the students get engaged, connected through the project. When I see those stories, they really inspire me and motivate me as a service learning lead teacher, because I see how the students are truly learning and being impact through the projects. When we first started service learning, we had so many questions, and two of them were, how do we combine service and academic? And I was also having a concern, how do I teach my standards through a service learning project? I have to say that we were worried. My colleagues and I, we were really worried about it, because in service learning seems to be something extra, something that should be added on top of a full curriculum already created. But we had the help of service learning and the help of Inspired Citizen, and we had also experience in planning. So we realized that we didn't need to start from zero. We had to start teaching the standards, the projects. That's the main goal, to teach the standards in a very different way, in a way that is engaging, with purpose, connection, and most importantly, having an impact to the students. So let me give you an example. In 9th grade, our students have to learn about Colombian social studies, Spanish, and AP Spanish. Our standards in Colombian social studies are related to Cartagena's history, independization, colonization. In Spanish, we have two standards, one related to the communicative oral skills and the other one related to academic research. And in AP Spanish, there is a unit about personal and public identity. So we decided to combine all these three subjects and the standards, and we create our project, Cartageneando Ando. In this project, the students are able to study, to manage, and to achieve the standards, and also they create a deep connection with the identity as Cartageneros. When we start the project, the project starts with a trivia game about how much do the students and the COJOWA staff know about Cartagena. And the questions were related to Cartagena's landmarks, Cartagena's history, and Cartagena's culture. With that trivia, the students realized how little they knew about Cartagena. and that create a concern. How can we preserve and how can we contribute to take care about Cartagena's history, and especially the heritage? So that aware their curiosity, and they had the necessity to go beyond the online sources, to go beyond the internet, the books, and they went out into a field trip. So they visit directly the Cartagena's historical places and sites, and through that they were able to create exhibitions, they were able to create podcasts and be guide for a day by sharing the identity, the history, the academic research, and especially having an impact. That impact is to share all this information with the community. So, over the 3 years, we have been doing those changes. In these pictures, as you might see, the students are being tourist guides for a day. They are leading their own learning process. They are explaining the research that they found out, and especially, as you might see in these photos, the students are having fun because this is a different way to learn. They have fun while they are learning and achieving the standards. They are explaining by their own voices Cartagena's history, Cartagena's heritage, and they are taking that as its own. So, this is the true power of service learning. The true power is to teach the standards in a very different way that is engaging with purpose and connection. And all of this is possible when you have strong systems across the whole school. And those strong systems are guide, and we have Jessica Benitez that help us as a community management coordinator.
Service learning at COJOWA is more than a collection of projects. Its true power lies in that whole school system that we have been building for the last 4 years. Before the pandemic, 2019, COJOWA launched its Learning Together a strategic plan. And one of the most important goals of this plan was to take community service to another level, embedding it into the academic curriculum and helping our students develop a lifelong habit of service. At that time, COJOWA already had its own non-profit organization, Fundación COJOWA, and several student clubs, making an impact in nearby communities through service. But COJOWA wanted to go further. They wanted to reach every student and to create a service learning program. They knew, for example, that additional leadership and coordination was needed. So they created the new position of the Community Engagement Coordinator, and that's when I joined COJOWA 4 years ago. I have to say that at that moment, I couldn't imagine how powerful and fulfilling this work would become. Before COJOWA, I worked in the field of conflict resolution and peace building with communities most affected by the armed conflict in Colombia. And I felt I touched so many lives through my work, but couldn't imagine how many more I was going to be able to touch through service learning at COJOWA. To invite students to understand and to act for change, to feel everything that service brings back to your life. Because I believe that when you give your time, when you put your heart to serve others, you will always receive more than you give. So 2021, we began working with Inspired Citizens, with the principals, with our curriculum coordinator, and Dr. Gab as our director, in the design of the program. We decided that the core of the program would be the empathy to impact cycle. That was Inspired Citizens model. So we adapted it to COJOWA because we wanted every student in every service learning project to go through 4 stages of this process. First, we want our students to care. We want to develop empathy. We want to awaken their curiosity, their interest on real-world issues, real needs of the community. And that community could be Cartagena, could be Boca Grande, their neighborhood, but it could also be their class at COJOWA. Then we want our students to be aware, so they need to investigate, they need to research, to truly understand root causes, impacts, different perspectives of the problem that they are studying. Then we want our students to be able, so they need to practice and to develop skills that they need to design that meaningful service that they want to offer to the community. And the last of the stages, impact. We want our students to take action. So this is a stage when they go to the community, when they bring the community to our school, when they deliver their service, when they contribute to that cause that they want. And this is important because we are asking our students, we are teaching our students, we are not going to the community to fix something, we are not coming to the community with a solution. We are coming to the community to build something with them and to contribute to a process that most of the time our community partners are leading or are supporting in that community. So those are the 4 stages, but through the process, through the projects, students are given opportunities to reflect. What are they learning? Why is it important? How they are taking impact and why it matters. So that was the service learning cycle, the empathy to impact cycle that guide every project. But we knew from the beginning that we also needed to create a whole school system. Teachers are leading the projects, but they need the support of the whole school to make possible and sustainable the program. So the system that we have been building has 4 strong pillars. And the first one is curriculum integration. So each project at COJOWA, each service learning project, connect at least 2 subjects. So teachers from the same grade level, but different subjects, come together to design a service learning unit as a new way of teaching the same standards they were teaching before. The second pillar is scope and sequence. We have a framework that connects learning with service learning projects from circle time to grade 12. So we ensure that our students are exploring different sustainable development goals, that they are developing different core skills, and they are trying different ways of service. Teacher support is the third pillar, and this is important. They are leading the projects, they are designing, they are implementing, but they need the support of the rest of the school. And from the beginning, we have been offering professional development and the guidance of inspired citizens, but also from our curriculum coordinator, principals, the support of our administrative staff, because those projects need a lot of logistics, and me as a community engagement coordinator connecting with the community. And the last of the pillars, authentic partnerships. So through Fundación COJOWA and through service learning, we have been building and strengthening a network of community partners in the communities in them. And this is very important because from the beginning, we made a clear decision that no project, no activity will be carried out in a community without a legitimate partner. This is a way that we ensure that we are coming to the community in a respectful way and that we are always trying to meet the needs of the community from their perspective and not from ours. And we are so grateful and proud of the community partners that we have. Most of them are COJOWA alumni, COJOWA parents that are making a huge impact in our city, in our community, through their nonprofits, through their organizations. So today, I want to introduce one of our amazing community partners, Jennifer Bonsford. She's the leader of the organization Rescates de Jenny.
Just shared, COJOWA service learning is built on strong systems, but those systems only matter when they become alive in the real world. I'm Jennifer. I dream of living in a world with no abandoned animals suffering in the streets. And with this project, thanks to Georgia, a dog found in poor condition in one of COJOWA's restrooms, I was able to show the students and the community how we can change the world of a street dog. Together with the Spanish and Social Studies teacher, we built a full service learning experience. So children from first grade were able to write books about animals, how to help them, and also organize food drives after meeting right in their own classroom some of the kittens and dogs that we have at the foundation. These life connections spark their creativity, improve the writing, and also open their hearts to compassion. And the nice thing is that they didn't just take that message for themselves and didn't just keep it there in the classroom. They took it home, and parents that had never been interested in these subjects are now sponsoring and volunteering at the foundation. So to me, this project goes beyond helping animals. It's about nurturing children's longing habits of responsibility, of service, and compassion, and that's the true essence of COJOWA's service learning.
Thank you, Jennifer. So Jennifer is just one of the many partners that we have. I forgot my clicker, so I'm going to clicker. She's one of the many partners that we have throughout the city and in each of the grade levels. And what's awesome about these partnerships is that those community partners also serve as examples and role models for our students. And our hope is that as our students graduate and they go out into the world, that they follow in their footsteps and they find ways to give back to the community, just like Jennifer does and other community partners. Here's just some of the community partners that we work with throughout the city. So we've learned a lot about service learning on our journey. And I think back to when we were launching, we had this idea of service being a lot about having a paintbrush or a shovel in your hands, and that can be service, that is service. But it's so much more than that. Service can be advocating for a cause, it can be educating people, hosting an event. There's so many creative ways in the 21st century to serve. But we're continuing to grow, and when we look at our new strategic plan and what we're focused on right now in service learning, these are 3 areas. Reflection is part of our service learning cycle, but we want our students to go deeper, and so we're looking for ways that those reflections can be deeper. Root causes. We're addressing important issues, and they talk about those issues, but we want them to go even deeper to look at some of those root causes that are just one level below. And the last one is student agency. We're looking for ways that our students can have more agency throughout the process. So here's an overview. We talked about that ripple effect that we want to have. We start with the why. So hopefully in your mission or vision that you have that shared purpose in your community. Begin with the early years. They're not too young to serve, and the habit of service begins when they're young. Real meaningful action. Moving away from charity or giving into having a meaningful impact. Invest in relationships. Empathy grows through human connection, and meaning is given when you have those human interactions as well. Start with the standards. Service learning is not something new or apart from what we're doing in our classrooms. You're teaching the same standards that you were before in a different way. And a school-wide system. For us, empathy and impact has worked great, but finding a system so that service learning can be sustainable. And the last one are those community partners. Make sure, like Jessica was explaining, that we're making sure we're approaching the community in a respectful way. So I just want to give you 5 minutes at your tables to talk about this. Taking into consideration the takeaways that we just went over, I want you to think about what service currently looks like at your school and answer these 2 questions together. What could be your next step towards school-wide service learning? And based on today's key points, what specific actions or shifts could move your school forward? So we're going to give you 5 minutes. You can just chat at your tables, and we'll come back together to close out. Together and close up. So my hope is that at your tables right now, in your conversations, you're going to shed some light on some of those next steps that you can take back in your own communities as it relates to service and service learning. So, at COJOWA, as we talked about in the beginning, this has always been about how we can create that lifelong habit of service. So that when students graduate, they go off and continue to serve. So we might think, what is the true measure of success then? In our new strategic plan, we have a new indicator. And this indicator is reaching out to all of our graduates that have been part of service learning. And we're going to ask them, are you still serving? Are you finding ways to connect your abilities, your passions with needs that exist in the world? It's got a dual purpose. One is a measure of success for us, but it's also a reminder to them. We're expecting you to continue serving after you graduate. So, we all have our own story to tell, and I want to thank you for letting us share this journey with all of you. And I'm sure if each of you were able to come up here and talk about your story of service in your schools, we would see the amazing things that are already happening all across our region. One of the big things we realize is that service learning is not a program. It's transformational. And when that work takes root, students grow, teachers innovate, parents engage, and communities are strengthened. So imagine if throughout our AMISA region, this was happening. That students in grades preschool through 12th grade saw service as a lifelong habit. Imagine if we all commit to this, not someday, but today. So here's our invitation for you. Let's build a generation that learns by serving and serves by learning. Thank you.
Another round of applause